Hi, welcome to the Diablo Podcast. We are online at diablopodcast.com. I am your host, Flux, and I am joined this week by Philter.
Hey, everybody.
And by Danthar.
Hey, how you doing?
And you guys are both first-time guests, I believe.
Yes.
And why don't you just tell us briefly, Philter, your game experience, who your favorite characters are, what you've been playing lately, why you're a Diablo fan, etc.
Kind of like everybody else, I've been playing Diablo since I owned a computer. So as far as Diablo 3, though, my favorite class is the Witch Doctor, and I pretty much played a Witch Doctor exclusively until I realized how terrible they were, sadly. And then I played a Barbarian, and I was messing around with a lot of Whirlwind two-hander builds at the end. And then I've dabbled in all the other classes, got them up to around 40 or 50 before I kind of got bored with the item hunt. So I'm really looking forward to this patch to come back in.
So do you have furious, angry opinions about the Vision Quest change?
No, I love it.
Okay, we'll say that for the Witch Doctor. I just want to... Okay, and same thing to you, Danthar.
I hate to say it, I've also been playing a Witch Doctor. I got a Witch Doctor in level 1 Inferno, playing completely by founds only, no auction house. I have dabbled in everybody else except for the Barbarian because I think they're boring.
You're like opposite day.
Yeah.
The Barb is like by far the most popular, and the Witch Doctor is the least popular.
Yeah, you know, I'm been playing Diablo since the first one came out. I actually stole my cousin's laptop for like 4 months just so I could play it because he had a cracked version on him, and and I was like, I have to play. And my parents didn't have a computer that could run it, so loved the second one. You know, been playing the third one since it came out. You know, I put in a couple hours a night. Really, I've been playing a lot of group games, you know, getting new people into the game, teaching them the tricks and stuff like that.
Infuriated by the Vision Quest changes, or do you like them?
I actually like them because I think I'm the only Witch Doctor build in the world that doesn't use it.
It's good, because Witch Doctor's my least played class, so you guys can just argue for 5 minutes when we get to that guy.
Perfect.
So we're going to cover all the class changes briefly based on the blogs. Obviously, we don't have the full patch notes yet, but this will probably, we're hoping to post this, we're recording this Sunday afternoon, and we're going to post it on Monday, and then in theory the patch is coming out Tuesday. So everything we'll say will be proven wrong in 2 days, which is about a week less than it usually takes for everything we say on the podcast to be proven wrong.
Well, the speculation's where all the fun comes from, right?
Yeah, let's hope so. We did 65 of these before the game came out, so apparently yes. And we're also going to briefly mention Legendaries and Magic Find, and we'll do that right now. Legendary changes, not just bigger numbers. 91% approval rating in a forum vote for Legendary changes. Are people excited that they're changing the crappy Legendaries now, or do they really think the new ones are going to be cool?
Probably a little bit of both, I would imagine. I mean, now you have items that have flavor, they have meaning. Like the 300th Spear, for example, gives range barbs an item. You look at builds back in D2 that were based all around, like, you know, you have to have this one item. You have to have these items to make a build viable. Well, now you actually have items that can help support those corner builds if they continue on and have other items like 300th Spear and whatever. Or the, let's see, Fragment of Destiny was another good one.
People are excited about the Firewalker's boots for a WW Barb.
Oh, yeah, with
you leave a little blaze trail everywhere.
Yeah, I really like what they did with the Legendaries, bringing in themes, you know, and kind of making them special. As far as, you know, on the forums and the vote, I think it's leaning more towards the fact that Legendaries just were hard before, and anything is better. But I do like the fact that they finally took names and the little quotes and text and stuff that ID them and actually made the stats around that. You know, it makes it interesting. It makes it unique. It makes it give you, you know, some good ideas for those really wacky builds. And hopefully, and we'll see when they actually roll the numbers, you know, they're saying about bumping everything up to, you know, allowing levels, item levels 61, 62s, and 63s to roll all to the max attributes. We'll see what it does, if it actually makes a difference. It's all based on the screenshots and stuff that they provided for some of the samples. They look good on paper. Let's see how they actually play, though.
Seeing, like, gold skin, I had some concerns about, they talked about, well, yeah, you'll have to sacrifice core stats for this item, but who's going to actually sacrifice core stats for Magic Find unless they totally outgear the content? I mean, maybe that's what that armor's really gunning for, is the people that totally outgear the content. They don't need the stats for progression at all.
Is it wrong that I kind of thought of gold skin and I was like, oh, the gold farmers in Asia are going to be dancing for joy for it?
No, you're not wrong.
Okay. I wanted to make sure I wasn't the only one that, like, when I read it, I was like, that coupled with the puzzle ring with the treasure goblin? Oh they're just going to be,
And then just go stand in fire.
Yep.
Yeah.
They, right? This isn't you guys at all. This is other people.
Yeah, well...
Those other people who exploit the game and make it no fun.
I've never had more than 7 million gold. I don't understand these people that get, like, hundreds of millions of gold. I get by on 2 or 3 or 4 usually.
Oh, okay. You're even way higher than me.
Well,
I run, maybe 1 million at a time. That's because I'm playing all found, so I spend a lot of money, buying stuff just to try to get a little bit better. All the hours I've logged, I have 1 legendary crafting recipe, and the only reason why is because I was playing with friends that are all level 60s. It was 3 level 60s. They brought me into an Inferno and literally had me stack Magic Find and gold for them. And we're just like, okay, you don't have to do anything, but just keep on dumping, Hex and Horrify and like all the status buffs, Big Bad Voodoo, and collect whatever you want. And that was the only legendary I've gotten all the hours I've played.
So speaking of legendaries, how many have you guys, legendaries or sets, found in total in your entire playtime?
I've found probably like 6, maybe 7. I consider myself...
How many hours you've played?
About 300.
Oh, 1 every 50 hours then.
Yeah.
1 ever. And I've been putting in 3 hours, 4 hours a night, pretty much 5 days a week.
You sound fantastically unlucky. I think I found about 5. I've only really done 1 Magic Find character ever to this point.
Well, I haven't even done any Magic Find characters. Most of 4 of the 6 that I've found were all found in the same week, and then they had a patch right after that, and I didn't find very many after. I found 1 since then. So I don't know. Maybe they had a bug in the patch where they were dropping legendaries more often.
So I'm guessing both you guys are approving of potential increases to legendary drop rate.
I'm liking it.
Yes.
I'm liking it. I definitely think there could be better ways of going around it than some of the things that have been floating around, the rumors floating around about the BOE.
Yeah, the rumor is that every 500 elite kills you would get a guaranteed legendary, but it will be BOE or BOA. But we don't want to get too much into that because we're going to get this whole blog from Jay Wilson tomorrow. Right. And so we have tons of other stuff to cover. But we're obviously hoping for better. Last thing on legendaries, a lot of them have these, we all like that there's going to be some themes and some style and stuff. And there's summoning demons that gives you fire chains and summoning angels, etc. Is that stuff going to really be cool and strategic, or is it just a weird, freaky novelty and you'd really rather just have plus 50% more damage? It
might be a total freaky novelty, or it might be really good. The thing that I don't like about them giving these kind of flavor summons, it has fire come out where you walk, or, it summons a demon with fire chains. Yeah, it sounds really good, but it sounds like a marketing line. Where's the numbers? Where's, this demon does this much damage on hit, and these fire chains do this much damage per second? We're not going to know that. We're not going to know where these damage numbers come from. If you have higher stats, do they do more? Are they a constant number? I'd like to see those text of the special abilities for legendaries fleshed out with some more numbers, at least in some sort of advanced tooltip.
I agree with that, because that was one of the comments I was going to make about legendaries, is you keep on reading of them, and I'll go back to Goldskin. It says, chance for enemies to drop gold when you hit them. Well, what kind of chance? We talking a 1% chance? We talking a 30% chance? That's a huge difference. And if you're going to make a judgment on, whether these wacky abilities are worth keeping or not, you got to know the numbers. And honestly, one of the things with the changes of a lot of the damages, and this gets into more of the class stuff, is, the X percentage over Y time. I really want to sit there and crunch the numbers and go, how much different is it really going to be a buff of damage compared to what they're doing now?
A lot of them, I've gone through and run the numbers. A lot of them, like a lot of buffing. There's a lot of buffing. I can understand the changes to those, but I guess we shouldn't talk about class stuff yet. One thing that I've really had a problem with in this game so far, something that's just bugged me and gotten on my nerves, is that
Bashiok.
There's no numbers. Well,
that too?
Bashiok's not a terrible guy. He just doesn't give us as much information as we always want, but, more because more. Everything says, like, a chance. It's all by feel. There's no numbers. Right. And, I mean, I don't want a game to be playing a spreadsheet, but if you're going to really be an advanced player, you need those kind of details.
You got to know what you're min and maxing with.
And there's all these procs that say that, chance of X. And of course that's a big topic when we get to the wizard in a minute, where they cut the odds of your wicked wind tornadoes proccing on the critical hit by 50% less.
Some people have done math, and it's like, okay, so a chance means this on this spell and this on this ability. But that's all hidden mechanics. Why don't they just come straight out and say, you have a 5% chance to do this, you have a 30% chance?
Because it would be too confusing for Grandma.
Yeah, Bashiok's mom didn't like the numbers, so there you go.
Bashiok's mom and Wyatt Chang's grandma had a sleepover, and they couldn't play it.
Exactly.
I mean, before the game came out, they had I remember them making posts about how numbers are confusing, and they're not going to share them in the game, and they're going to simplify, and, et cetera. So
touchy-feely stuff is more confusing. Nothing's concrete. Games are rules and systems. If you don't know the rules and systems, you can't actually game a game.
Okay, so getting right to the class stuff. I ran the vote a few days ago saying which class is getting the best improvements and which is getting the worst, and they're pretty much mirror images of each other, which I guess you'd expect, but I mean the Witch Doctor is 38% on the best, and it's the second to least votes on the worst. The Wizard's the most votes on the worst and the least votes on the best. I was kind of wondering if one character would get like 3% for both when no one even cared one way or the other, but that did not happen.
Well, Monk and Demon Hunter are kind of like that. They're both...
Well, the Monk has 6% on best and 21 on worst. The Demon Hunter has 6% on best and 17 on worst. So people think their changes suck, apparently, for the most part.
Yeah.
I wish we had a script that we could just rank them 1 through 5, but we don't have that. So I just said that, the yes, no. So use the tools you have.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're doing Witch Doctor first, which should be lively since both you guys are Witch Doctor experts.
Yes.
And I'm not. So the biggest point of the patch, of the update at least, obviously we don't know the full character details. We're just speculating on what they've given us so far. Lots of improvements to pets, and then Vision Quest is the other big change. So first about pets. Obviously you guys have played Witch Doctors to pretty high levels. Are you pets completely useless or beyond not even beginning to be useless?
They're not even worth the spot on the bar for even temporary tanks. I mean, some people have made it so that Gargantuans can kind of work in Act 1 with really good gear, but other than that, they're just a distraction that dies in one hit.
I've skipped them completely. Even in normal, I was so underwhelmed with them that I was just like, you know what, I'm going to go pure spells, because it was just a better play style, and it really upset me because I really wanted to have just a screen full of pets running around, just making a mess of things. So, it kind of depressed me that even in normal, they were kind of useless.
You guys like to rage about the game being launched with the pet class being totally useless with pets, or should we just move on?
Well, I mean, I've never really been that big of a pet guy. It was throwing out a bunch of frogs and a bunch of spiders and a bunch of, summoning little things, not summoning actual pets. We already had a necromancer. We don't need another necromancer.
It's a rare opinion.
I kind of agree with them, because when I sat down and the first time I tried the pets and they kind of stunk, I was like, you know what? No, I want to be like, a big bad voodoo daddy. I want to throw shit around and, curse people and, make shit happen and have a whole bunch of really awesome looking shit on screen at one time.
Ghosts and jars of spiders and locusts and stuff
I want
to
throw a snake on somebody's face. Sorry.
Yes.
It looks cool.
Well, you may now get your chance, because they said they've buffed lots of the other skills, lots of the attack skills. That goes into the whole Vision Quest change as well, but So did you guys feel that the casting animations were too slow? I mean, does that seem like that'll make a difference to you?
Yes.
That was probably my favorite change that I read. Well, Vision Quest might have been the favorite, but tightening up those animations and making them faster. Oh my god! Now I have an option. I don't have to use splinters.
Exactly. I was so excited because I love Rain of Toads, but there is nothing worse. Even when I'm stacking the slow from Grasp of the Dead and hitting with the extra slow from Poison Dart, I still have a hard time getting the frogs running just to start because that lag in animation is so long. Once it gets going, you can tear through things, but it's ridiculous. And when I read that, I was doing the dance of joy.
It's the same way with Jars of Spiders. I mean, I've gone through all of the builds that I thought possible because that's how I play Diablo. Is I go, I wonder if I can use this ability and this ability and this ability. And so I was going through, and I had a period of time where I was trying to make spiders work, and I couldn't make it work. I just couldn't do it because the animations were so much longer than with splinters or with any other dart. But seeing those changes and them speeding up those animations to make those abilities actually usable made my day.
Yeah, that's huge, and I'm looking forward to it because I've been not only relying on Dart and Rain of Toads, but I want to try some of the other ones. I want to go to Spiders. I want to try Firebomb, but it's not worth it. It takes so long to do them that it's like, I'm getting hammered as it is, and I'm playing only by drop. So I was like, it's not worth it. I'd rather play with the safe stuff for now. This will give you some options, and it'll let me branch out a little bit, which I'm excited about. Anything that gives me more choice, I'm for.
With the change to Vision Quest, it promotes using
the other stuff. Right.
It promotes using the other stuff. Yes, Darts is on there and helps it too, but I can use Firebomb. I can try Toads. I've never, ever used regular Toads. Now I might be able to.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I was tired. For a while I was using the mana on Dart, and I was using the mana on the spiders for in Nightmare, just because I was having mana issues. And this actually gives me an option now where I don't have to use the mana return stuff just to keep my other things going.
And you don't have to have 4 abilities on cooldown and not be able to do anything but your main attack and another attack, and that's it.
That was the whole concept of that, having 4 things on at once. It was ridiculous because up until mid-hell, I was playing with all the instant cast stuff. I was playing with Acid Cloud, and I had Grasp of the Dead, and I had stuff that didn't really have ridiculous cooldowns or any cooldowns. So I just skipped Vision Quest because I was like, why? It's not worth it.
I love Acid Cloud, so hopefully this will let me use it again. But yeah,
it's so much fun. I love
when
Acid
I saw
Cloud.
Vision Quest.
So just describe it for people who don't play the Witch Doctor. It's a passive that gives you 300% more mana regen as long as you have 4 or more skills on cooldown.
Yes.
So what I envision is people, like Big Bad Voodoo's got, 120-second cooldown? And like Summon Fetishes has a long-ass cooldown, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and Summon
Zombie Dogs is a minute cooldown. So basically you just have a lot of summoning skills as a Witch Doctor just to keep them on cooldown, so you have much more mana regen. So then your other 2 skills, one of which is usually Grizzly Bears, Zombie Bears.
And one has to be Spirit Walk.
And Spirit Walk is the escape rifle. So basically you have 1 attack skill and 4 long-ass cooldowns at all times. Yep.
That's pretty much it.
And so you only have 1 skill of course, everyone else has only 1 skill to attack with, too, but that's because they have 4 defensive skills.
Yeah.
But that's a different question. Right. We'll say that for the monk discussion.
It seems to be a common theme throughout the characters, at least nowadays, where you have 1, maybe 2 attacks, and then your other 4 skills are either defensive or you're not using them because they're on cooldown.
Right.
Or both.
Yeah.
My biggest thing.
And the change to Vision Quest is now it's going to be a 30% faster regen after you've cast any one. For I think it's 30 seconds after you've cast Firebomb, Corpse Spiders, Poison Dart, or Plague of
It's 30% for 5 seconds.
5 seconds. Yeah.
Okay, I had that backwards. So every 5 seconds, but obviously, as you guys were saying, you want to use these other skills, and Poison Dart has still been the most popular one anyway.
Right.
Of those skills.
And also, you got to remember that they're also buffing the base regen by double, which makes it huge.
Oh,
because,
more than double.
Yeah, I think it's going from 20 to 45, 50, something
45,
like that.
yeah.
So, couple that with the fact that you can spam the basic attacks, especially if they're working on those animation speeds. You can more than match the 300% you were getting for Vision Quest, and you still have your oh shit buttons. You still have Hex.
And you have pets in front of you, too.
You still have Hex. You still have, your Horrify that you don't have to just waste just to get stuff on cooldown.
Yeah, you still have your Spirit Walk when you actually need to use it.
But you're not going to be able to spam zombie bears for 30 seconds at a time.
Which is
great.
I like that, first of all. But honestly, a guy tried it. There's somebody who ran the numbers, and you can still do it. You can do it. It's not 30 seconds at a time. You can do it for like 22. But really, with the amount of damage that Zombie Bears does, if you're going to keep it in your build, anything that lasts more than 22 seconds outside of like a boss is ridiculous. Like, you can still crush the elite packs. You can still, grab on champions. And you're still going to be able to take down the Butcher in like 30 seconds.
Pulling the numbers, for old Vision Quest, 300% increase. So 20 mana per second becomes 60 mana per second base. Now they buffed it to 45 mana per second, and it gives you 30% for 5 seconds after using one of those abilities. It still gives you about 60 mana per second.
Right.
You can actually use your other skills. They want you to use more different primary attacks.
They don't want you to just hold down darts, strafe a little bit, smash the keyboard so you hit all four skills at the same time, just to then left click with zombie bears.
I might be biased, but these changes are some of the best for any class in the game. And there's no small wonder why the vote is going that way.
The Witch Doctor was by far going into the game, the low man, the redheaded stepchild, so to speak.
Nobody really knows why it's there. Nobody really knows how they fit in.
Yeah, I have a couple of guys that I've been playing with that I brought into the game, and they're all like, "You're a witch doctor? What do you do with him? Like, how do you play him?"
Zombie bears.
No, I don't use zombie bears. I avoid it just because everybody uses it.
Me too.
I am a big proponent of playing against what everybody else does. So I just flood the screen with area effects. The only cookie cutter skill I use is Splinter as a nice single target. But I flood the screen and overlap with slows and area of effect damage. And that's the way I play, and I love it. And you know what? If it means I got to sit there and kite for 25 minutes to get around certain elite packs, I do it. And I have my fun playing it, and if I die, well, I died because I wasn't playing right. I wasn't paying attention. But yeah, I've been doing pretty good so far, so.
My favorite build that I found, I made a forum post on the IncGamers forums about a slowing Phantasm build. And in Act 1, because zombies are kind of slow and you can kite them around and whatever, it's the most fun that I've ever had because stuff just melts. Yeah, Zombie Bears is amazing, but good luck.
Right.
Good luck surviving that close unless you're a tank doctor. And tank doctors are a completely different story. They're fun, but they're a completely different story.
Right now I'm running Spines, the mass 80% slow on Grasp of Dead. Then I have the Haunt with the 500% damage over 2 seconds over Arcane. Acid Cloud with the increased range, and then my last one is Spirit Walk. And I've been having a blast. And I've been playing with it since pretty much that build, since Act 4 of normal.
That sounds like it'd work out really nicely.
It does. You just got, you got to go slow, and bosses take forever, and I've hit the rage timers, and it sucks. But
removing enrage timers.
But that's why I'm glad they're getting rid of those. That made me very happy also.
Comment from the Witch Doctor thread, just to get the other side of the argument here. There's a few people who are raging about the Vision Quest change. I'm going to quote Fruit Lord here, this is his moment of fame. Old regen, say you had 20% mono regen on your gear. So that was 40% faster times 300% will give you 120% mono regen per second. The new version, with the same gear, you'd have the 45% base plus the 20%, so you'd have 65%, and that's only times 0.30% faster. So now you're going up to 84.5% mono regen. So he's looking at it as going from previously having 120 per second to having 84 per second now, and thinking that's going to make it no way to play Zombie Bears is the spam quest.
But the flip side is you can spam your attack skills to keep that.
But everything
5
else
seconds,
is much better.
To keep that 5 seconds going. So essentially, you're going to have, as long as you constantly, at least every once in a while, hit a left click, you're going to be able to keep your mana regen up for a longer period of time than you can with the way Vision Quest currently is.
Yeah, to give somebody else their time in the spotlight.
Right.
Nameless says you get an infinite 30% now if you use those base skills versus having 4 cooldowns to have 300%. It looks fair to me. Looks fair to me too, man.
There's one build basically that's arguably OP. The Zombie Bears 4 cooldown super spam thing. And I would say every other build sucks, but you guys apparently play other builds. But from what the comments in the forum thread seem to be like, every other build sucks.
Well,
and people aren't happy that they're giving us all this variety with this different stuff. Now here's your thought exercise. What if they were going the other way? What if the game now were the way it is going to be, and you had this 30% boost, and you could use all these different skills? And they said, hey, next patch, we're going to make every other build useless, and the only way you can play the game is to use 4 skills on cooldown with 1 passive skill, and then you have 1 attack skill.
And I probably would, go play Darksiders 2 and go play Awesome Knots.
Yeah, that would be the most unpopular change ever made,
Oh, yeah,
right?
Definitely.
So it's funny that going the other way is also unpopular, at least among some, but people are just used to it, I guess.
It's the human race. There's going to be 2 different people with 2 different opinions about every single topic.
Exactly. I was going on the official forums after they were releasing these, and the stuff I was reading, with the Legendaries, the conspiracy theories about, God forbid Blizzard, make money off the auction house, by finally bringing in items worth using, so you're inflating all the old ones and like all this stuff. And it's like, they're a business. They can make money. They're allowed.
They're allowed to make money and take off your tinfoil hat.
Yeah. It's like, come on.
The only thing the official forums are good for is just for a laugh every now and again.
Oh, I was reading them at work on Friday, and I was just like, I needed a laugh. It was kind of one of those days at work, and I was like, I'm laughing at this stuff because it's just ridiculous. They're our business. They're to make money. If what they're doing is helping us also, why is that a bad thing? Why do you give a shit?
Been using those official forums since WoW launched, and they're a cesspool.
Yes.
That's the only way I can describe them, is a cesspool.
And I'm sure the same people were arguing previously that they made items bad, so that would force you to use the real money auction house.
To find new... Oh, yeah.
Of course they did.
And Bobby's eyes gleam no matter what argument you
Bobby's eyes.
So obviously you guys are both big fans of the Witch Doctor and big fans of the cheats.
Yes.
Anything that promotes more build diversity in my eyes is only a positive change.
And everybody who disagrees on Witch Doctor can rage in comments.
You can rage in comments, and I'll just ignore you.
Exactly.
Any less burning Witch Doctor thoughts, or I think we covered him pretty thoroughly.
I think we beat him with a dead horse.
Doesn't he actually have a beat you with a dead horse passive? That would actually be a pretty good Witch Doctor.
That would be pretty cool. And every time you cast a spell, it gets more powerful.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, zombie horse, plus 10 to beating.
There you go.
Demon Hunter. The main point with the Demon Hunter, lots of buffs to the lesser used hatred generators. Bolo shot, entangling shot, grenades, and evasive fire. And that's kind of it. They didn't have a whole lot of other stuff. They're boosting some of the other skills as well. Damage, just pure damage boosts on Chakram and Cluster Bomb and Rain of Vengeance and Sentry. How much Demon Hunter have you guys played, and are you a fan of these changes?
I've played a Demon Hunter to the mid-20s right now. He was the last one I started because two of the guys I play with quite regularly, my brother and one of my friends, they both have high-level Demon Hunters. So I was like, I've seen enough of their stuff that I can, get to it when I get to it. I like that they're trying to do a little bit more with the iconic stuff, with Sentry, with the Rain of Arrows,
Reign of
Vengeance, right? Whatever.
Because they're all about revenge. Because their family was killed by them. If you haven't noticed.
I'm angry.
Their one personality note.
I'm a goth girl, and I'm angry and rebelling. That's all I can think of whenever I see one of the female demon hunters.
And the emo hunter.
It was a little lackluster. Number increases are good, but honestly, was anybody really complaining that the demon hunter wasn't doing enough damage?
Well, there's more ways to do damage
right
now.
Yeah.
I guess they're providing a little more build variety.
I can see that. I would have liked them to do a little bit more with the hatred generators and prioritizing them, like they were doing with the wizard? Yeah, the wizard with Hydra, where I wish they really made each generator good for certain things, so you really had a decision to have to make, and you may want to have actually two on your bar at the same time.
In theory, they do, but Hungry Arrow has rune effects that allow it to work with most skills. You've got a multi-hitting one, you've got a more damage to a single target one.
It dupes what the other ones are supposedly doing well. You can all do that with Hungering Arrow. So I would have liked them to buff the others to really make them concrete, to really do Bolo Shot, to make Bolo Shot such an awesome AoE that you just had to take it for an AoE option. I wish that Entangling Shot was, first of all, that it looped you could loop everything on the screen at once with one arrow. That would be awesome. Buffs like that really make it stand out. Since Hungering Arrow can do all those things just depending on the rune you select, it's almost even if you bump the damage on the others, I guess you do it just for flavor.
I don't know why Blizzard didn't say that Evasive Fire was fine as is either. I have my Demon Hunter to 40, and my girlfriend's favorite class is the Demon Hunter, and she plays that pretty much exclusively. And Evasive Fire was so much better than Hungering Arrow, at least from a lot of the math that I was reading. Just perusing the Demon Hunter forums to get more up to date with what a max level Demon Hunter actually plays like. All of the accounts of damage calculation, stuff like that, show that Evasive Fire is really just as good, if not better, than Hungering Arrow, so I'm really surprised that they didn't acknowledge that, but hey, whatever.
And that's with the one that gives you 3 shots, the covering shot, covering fire, which is actually my main skill with the Demon Hunter. I don't even use Hungering Arrow. So
and it sounds,
I agree with you.
The sound of Evasive Fire is just delicious.
I do have to say, the sound effects on the Demon Hunter are pretty awesome.
I agree completely that they need to differentiate the hatred generators more, because Hungering Arrow, you can pretty much make it into what the other ones do right now, except maybe grenades. And they do need to change grenades, because playing up, I used it once to see what it was like, and I was like, oh, I can't control how far I throw them. I can't control
where
how much of an arc they go in.
Right.
And bouncing them off of walls, what walls? There's no walls. Off of maybe in the castle keep. That's it.
I was going to say the only level it might be okay in would be the sewer levels in Act 2.
Or under
maybe
Bastion's keep.
Yeah.
But that's
There's nothing okay about the sewer levels in Act 2.
Ugh, nobody wants to go in the sewer levels anymore.
No.
They have to, though.
No.
Smelly. So we did a podcast on the Demon Hunter a few weeks ago, and all three of myself and the two guests have all played Inferno fairly extensively, and we all agreed that we would like some more build diversity in terms of something that wasn't just glass cannon and kiting. Some kind of diamond skin type skill or some sort of damage mitigation passives, just to give some more options. And it is possible the Demon Hunter tank. You have to go with a one-handed bow and a shield, or a one-handed X-bow. but you need stupendously good gear to do it.
Mm-hmm.
To take more than like 3 hits from anything and past like Act 2.
So it's kind of like a tank doctor.
Right.
You can kind of do it, but you just need phenomenally good gear, and it's not it's just not really
cheap.
the strength of the class. And there was nothing mentioned about that in the preview. Obviously, the preview might not be everything. They're just mentioning a few things to catch our eye. But I was a little disappointed that they didn't have some more change. Nothing fundamentally changed. They're just saying, this is the play style, and we're going to make more skills that might work with it. As compared to, say, the Witch Doctor, where they're opening up tons of new play styles.
While it wasn't the most disappointing, it was definitely lackluster, the Demon Hunter changes, in my eyes.
The only one that might actually change something is Sentry.
Yeah.
Because that would change your play style. If it was damaging enough, you could just plop one down and run. I mean, basically, it's giving you a Hydra,
right.
For a Demon Hunter.
And it sounds like reading changes like that is the kind of thing that makes you go, I wonder if I can use that with something else to make it really shine.
Well, one of the things that you might be able to open up with the Demon Hunter is when you pair it with the Legendaries. Especially if we figure out, what the proc rate is on Sentry, if they're up in the damage, and all those area effects, we don't know if they're going to change any of the procs on them.
Well, and what if Sentry, made a copy of your
right.
current weapon as the Sentry? So it's
that
like you were
awesome.
firing twice. That would be really impressive. That would be really interesting. It would allow you to do multiple things with weird Legendaries. Those are the kind of changes that the Demon Hunter needs, I think.
Yeah.
Make it more interesting.
To go back to the podcast when you guys were talking about the Demon Hunter and maybe getting some passives to mitigate damage, I actually don't necessarily want to see those. I would much prefer.
Neither does Jay Wilson.
I'd much prefer if you're gonna go with any kind of defensive passive for the Demon Hunter. I'd rather see, if you had to, a dodge, increased dodge stuff, just to play along with the kit, and the concept of what the Demon Hunter is supposed to do. I don't want to see anything like Jungle Fortitude where it's just a flat damage decrease. Or anything like that. Make it different. Start giving them some really wacky passives. Why isn't there a passive that says, every time you dodge, you drop a trap?
Okay, Monk. Monk. Or as they say in Germany, Munchen. Mostly improvements to Spirit Spenders. They listed a bunch of the Spirit Spenders and cooler stuff to do, because many players with the Monk just sort of do... They do their combo skills perpetually and get spirit filled up, and then they just spend that on auras or something. And I have to say I'm guilty of that. My Monk is level 50, and all through Nightmare and into Hell, I don't really have any spirit spenders other than 7-sided strike occasionally. And that's really just for fun or to dodge Frozens. And basically you just punch stuff and then they die. And they're also the other improvement is Exploding Palm, which they're making a much longer fuse and more damage, so you can get more bangs with that. Either of you guys big Monk fans, and what do you think of the changes?
I'm guilty as playing the Monk the same way you do. I hold down the combos, and that's really about it. And I use the heal as the only real spender. I'm excited about it, because when I saw Exploding Palm originally, I just kept on thinking, Corpse Explosion. It's going to be like Corpse Explosion. And
well, it was back in 2010. It's got a lame graphic now. And it used to be a combo skill.
Right.
So amazing.
And I kind of wish it stayed as the third hit, because that just opened up so many strategies. But, okay, with the Spender, I like the change on it. It might actually go back to being a good throwback, a modern take on Corpse Explosion, which means I'd actually use it, just to play. I'm in the mid-30s, low 40s with my Monk. I don't quite remember. Anything that lets me blow things up and move from group to group and blow them up quicker, I'm for.
The Monk is my least favorite class. I'm just going to come right out and say that. I never really liked the concept of it. It never seemed that interesting. But it's my best friend's favorite class, so of course I know about Monks, just talking to him. These changes, I voted the Monk for the least impressive for the changes, just because, yes, their spirit spenders need buffing. It's pretty much useless to have spirit other than to keep your monsters alive and heal. But honestly, a lot of these changes, there's nothing interesting about them. It's all just, we're buffing the damage, we're buffing the damage, we're buffing the duration, we're buffing the damage. Nothing else is changing.
But that's, similar to what was happening with the Demon Hunter. It's, at least they're making them viable by buffing them. So
yes.
The fact that they're now viable may actually make them interesting.
Oh yeah, they're not bad changes. It's the same thing that I said about the Demon Hunter. It's kind of lackluster. It's just number changes. There's no more interesting mechanics coming in. There's no anything that'll promote real, thought-provoking build diversity. It's just, now you actually have options.
I almost cringed, though, with the passive. When I saw passives on the list, and I saw one with everything, in the first sentence. I was like,
yeah.
Wait, don't you be touching that. Because right now, that's the only way I'm getting resistance right now.
I'm glad they acknowledged that the players actually consider that there are some required passives that are mandatory. I'm glad that they're acknowledging that, because maybe that means that they'll actually do something. I mean, yes, One with Everything is amazing, and yes, you need Jungle Fortitude as a Witch Doctor, and yes, you need Sharpshooter as a
Demon Hunter.
Demon Hunter. I hope that sometime in the future they make it so that you don't have mandatory passives. And who knows, maybe with people getting more gear and being able to kind of outgear the content to the point in Diablo 2 where Hell really wasn't a huge challenge, so you could actually experiment.
Start messing around with stuff. Right.
Viability versus the best build that you can get, I think, is the biggest thing here. And so I would like other passives to be just as viable as One with Everything.
Oh, yeah. I looked at the passives before I started, playing anybody, and I saw all these great combos with the 3, and I was like, oh, I'll take these 3, and then I'll match them with these sets of skills, and it'll be awesome. And
but
I tried
you can't
it,
do that.
And I would die in 30 seconds and go, this is not fun. I'm going back to the ones that I know are going to keep me alive.
Yeah. You either spend tons of money on all resist, or
you pick up
waste a passive.
Right. You pick up one passive.
Or both.
Yeah.
And so One with Everything, for someone who doesn't play the Monk, it makes all of your resistances equal to your highest resistance. So if you manage to get a ton of stuff with lightning resistance, then you've got a ton of damage, ton of resistance to everything. Mm-hmm. And the funny thing is that there was a blue quote right after release saying nobody ever used this skill during the beta testing, during their internal testing, because they didn't have an auction house. And so it was kind of useless because you couldn't get 50% fire resistance on every single piece of armor without an auction house.
Stack one stat.
So it's sort of unintended how useful it is, because now people can easily get a ton of one thing with an auction house. So it's nice that the auction house ruined the game for them as well.
Well, it kind of, having that passive though, kind of makes it so that if a piece of gear doesn't have all resist, but it has a kind of resistance, you might still be able to use it.
Keep it.
Somebody else might still be able to use it depending on what they're stacking.
Right. And
and they're not nerfing that, so you still can.
Yes.
Lucky you.
And it gives a little bit of gear flexibility also. Just going off of that. I know for my Monk, I don't have to look for the all-resist stuff. I still have shoulders that only have plus lightning, just because lightning happened to be the most of what I've found, and I'm keeping it, and I've kept it for several sets of drops.
Yeah, 25% reduction to repair costs for higher level items, which I think is good. And I hope that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about too. I hope that with the reduced repair costs, that yes, they are ridiculous, but I hope that they're still meaningful.
Oh yeah. You don't want to just keep on face planting, spawn, face plant, respawn just to wear them down, especially since they're getting rid of the reheals. So
yeah, they increase those repair costs for a reason, and a good reason, in my opinion. So I hope that it still prevents people from just face rolling content by respawning.
I was doing my Demon Hunter in Act 2 Inferno last night, doing some runs, and a couple of times when I had no deaths, I noticed my repair bill was about 2K. Coming back to town with full inventory. Okay. And times when you do die, it's, 25, 30K. Right. If you get a really bad boss and you wipe 6 or 7 times. So 25% off of that, $1,500 if you don't die, and, maybe $20,000 or $23,000 or something if you do, if you have a major wipeouts. And I'm also lately I've been playing a lot of first hardcore character. I got a Demon Hunter up to like 49, I think, or 47 or something now. Very low repair bills, oddly enough.
Really?
It's funny how when you don't die, it's just pretty much free.
Yeah,
well,
I guess
that's
that kind of
funny
takes
how
it
that
out of the
works.
equation.
So if you don't like repair bills, my advice:
Play
play
hardcore.
hardcore.
Go hardcore.
Really not a problem. The controversy on the monk, to go with people who are angry in the comments, or not so much angry, just disappointed, is that people were looking at it saying, here's my build in Inferno, and none of these skills are being improved, and I don't see any of the other skills that are being improved being good enough to break into my bar.
Well,
so it seems like they made a lot of changes to the low level and mid level monk stuff, and maybe to draw people who haven't been playing the monk a lot. But it seems like the really expert monk players are like, this isn't going to change anything. I'm still going to be using Serenity in my 2 combos, etc., etc.
possibly.
And of course, you've got 4 defensive skills in Inferno, so you're only using maybe 1 Spirit Spender as it is. And they didn't mention any changes in the patch notes about better defensive stuff or combining different defensive abilities to give you more options with attack.
Well, these previews also aren't,
Exhaustive.
the entire thing. Yeah.
Right. We don't
So
know
we're hoping for more.
We don't know what they're doing with the rest of the stuff.
Yeah,
They could
who
be-
knows if there's something they don't think that's a very important change that they should
Change.
talk about,
Right.
but
That's gonna
it's
be sent
amazing
waves
for the
through.
rest of the community.
Right. It could be something simple as, it may be more of a nerf. I hate to say that word around here because how that sets everybody off, but
Careful, dude.
they could be taking all of the standard defensive stuff and maybe lengthening cooldowns on them or, something like that, just to make these spenders a little bit more of an incentive. But even just opening up the one option to get it on there instead of the 2 combos, I would add in Exploding Palm based on this write-up. I would add it in.
And playing my monk, even though he's only like level 40, I would love to put Wave of Light in for that huge damage increase.
Right.
I love dropping bells on people. Are you kidding me? Now I can actually use it
Ding-dong.
and feel like it's worth the spirit.
Well, that's what people were saying. I mean, that these will be good at low level, but they're not really necessarily going to make any difference in Inferno. But we're hoping for more details than what we've gotten.
Play a Witch Doctor.
Exactly. Come join the tribe.
And my inbox is full of hatred.
Okay, that's for later. Now it's for Wizard. Wizard. I am going to do my impersonation of Irina the Enchantress reading the Wizard patch notes. Look, more Hydras. Look, more Hydras. Look, more Hydras. Yes, 57 paragraphs about how they're changing Hydras.
Right.
And they're making them so they're better for certain... Everyone chooses the Poison Hydra now because it gives you little pits of plague on the ground that grant the DOT.
Right. That's awesome.
And it's the best for basically every situation. And they're trying to make the other ones better. And for the 4% of wizards who are doing nothing but kiting with Blizzard and Hydra, that's awesome. Everyone else is like, what?
Right.
It seems kind of an odd focus for almost the entire patch notes to be just about the Hydra's changes. But it certainly was very detailed about Hydra changes.
Yeah, as far as paragraphs, it's 3 paragraphs about Hydras, 1 about skill diversity, 1 that's a nerf, and then 1 that's reassuring people that they're not going to nerf everything.
Right. That everything else is buffs.
I mean, I don't main a wizard. I have a friend that plays one, and that's really how I know about wizards at higher levels. But are Hydras that pervasive in the skill sets of wizards? Like, is Hydra required? Are there no builds?
If you're going to do the kiting
Hydras?
Blizzard kind of thing,
Yeah.
yes.
If you're gonna do the slow kite, round, then yes. And I like playing that style. So I was a little disappointed, with it because I was like, oh, now I have to go back and rethink how I want to play it. I think it was really odd that out of all of the previews, the Wizard was the only one where they really took like just this one skill, and they keep on saying, well, it's an iconic skill for the Wizard, yada yada yada.
Yada yada yada.
Yeah, okay, I know plenty of wizards that play. I have a buddy who's a level 60 wizard in hardcore, and he never touched his Hydra. He's like, no, I don't want it. I would have rather have them written a lot more about the signature spells and what they're trying to do with those.
And they said nothing about
Nothing.
those, really.
Yeah.
Nothing.
They mentioned buffs to Meteor and Arcane Torrent and gave some numbers on those, but because those just the problem with those is you can't use them because you have to stand still to use it, especially Arcane Torrent.
Well, and
standing still with a wizard equals say hi to town for me.
It's great that they're buffing the other Hydras to make them as good as Venom Hydra or whatever, but where's the talking about? They talk about skill diversity, but they also say in either that paragraph or the one before it, yeah, we're okay with Hydra being better than everything else.
Exactly.
Wait. I thought this patch was all about making other skills as good as skills. Yeah.
To open up options. I don't see anything here for melee wizards. Nothing.
So now, yes, you get a choice of Hydra, but you still have to use Hydra.
Use Hydra.
But you can use the blue or the red Hydra instead.
Ooh.
Very different.
I would have loved to see something here for melee wizards because I really wanna run a melee wizard.
Well, you got that item.
Right.
You got
that,
the preview item of Fragment of Destiny.
Yeah.
But that's all you got.
Yeah. I was like, wee! And since knowing my wonderful luck with Legendaries, I was like, okay, so I may be able to create this build, next year sometime? Maybe, if I'm lucky?
After earning 500 million gold.
Right, to buy it. Because I'm never going to find it.
I was kind of disappointed when I got to the end and they were like, yeah, we're going to buff Meteor and we're going to buff Arcane Torrent and make them awesome. And
skills that nobody uses.
Well, skills that nobody uses, but skills that are really cool, too. I played a Meteor Sork in D2 for a little while, but the numbers that they're listing, they aren't really that impressive.
Right.
Yeah.
I was kind of looking at, I was like, there's some stuff in a lot of the other classes that are way higher than these, especially since with Arcane Torrent, you're rooted. You're done. And with Meteor, you got to guess where they're going.
The Molten Impact change from 260% plus 78% over 3 seconds to 390 plus 90 over 3 seconds, that's starting to get to the point where Meteor will be useful.
Right.
But if you have to judge it that much, and half the time you don't even hit anything unless you're really good at judging, like pathfinding of the AI, make it 400%. Make it 600%.
Or give it a bigger splash.
Give it a bigger splash. Reduce the 3 seconds that it takes to come down to, have a rune that makes it come down in, 1 second.
Right. That might actually be useful.
Do something like that. Again, the flat damage increases.
It's boring.
I'll note that on the current vote, which class is getting the worst improvements? Wizard, 30%, running away with the poll.
I think it's only that's the only class where they talked about a nerf.
Right.
That's, I think, why. All the classes are probably going to get a small nerf or two. They probably just thought that they should talk about wizards.
Don't say that too loud. We want to be
speaking of the nerf, we should get to that now. Dude, I've got a level 60 wizard. I haven't played it much because I don't really enjoy the playstyle in Act 1 Inferno. I really like this super fast, kite around, teleport a lot, bang, 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 Diablo 2 style of wizard, using Nova or Charge Bolt or
Lightning
Frozen Orb or whatever. And I love that in Diablo 1 as well. And that was what I was hoping to get in Diablo 3. And you can't really do that with a wizard because there's such a cooldown on teleport. Yeah. And basically, if you want to play that way in Diablo 3, you play a Demon Hunter, which is kind of what I've been doing.
You play Demon Hunter or you play a monk with a Spirit Spender that teleports you to guys.
The most fun wizard build that people have started using is this thing with Energy Twister, where you get tons and tons of procs with the Wicked Wind, and the procs combined with, what's the passive?
Critical
Mass. Mm-hmm. And Critical Mass lowers the cooldown time by 1 second, a percent of, as they say in the game, some of the time, or more of the time. A chance, yeah. Which it turns out that lowers your cooldowns with that. So people basically spam Wicked Wind with Energy Twister form, and that enables you to constantly cast other skills like Frost Nova and Diamond
Can you have more
Skin.
than one Hydra out at a time?
No, no one cares about Hydra. Not with this build anyway. And those are really fun because ordinarily those skills have 8 and 10 and 12 second cooldowns, but you can make them no second cooldowns with this Energy Twister. And what they've changed in the patch is they've changed the process, or the proc, of the chance of getting this, as you guys were saying earlier, we want stats. They don't actually tell you the stat in the game, but people have figured out. They're changing it from 25% chance to 12.5% chance of your critical hits proccing this cooldown, which I'm really explaining poorly. So basically, you're going to need basically roughly double the critical hit chance gear to continue using the same build. Is what people are figuring this means. And Blizzard said that might not be so bad because we're going to be adding a bunch of legendaries that have really high critical hit chance, which might be like orbs and wands and stuff that only wizards can use.
Well, and with some of those procs, like having a 25% chance to spawn a demon with fire chains is a little high for something that hits as often as Energy Twister.
Exactly. And I also find it funny just to say, that they're all up in arms about, Energy Twister or whatever, because I remember in the beta, everybody was like, this skill stinks. What are you going to use this skill for?
Yeah.
It was until you get that one rune effect and the procs, it's horrible. It was easily the worst skill in the beta.
And,
I kept trying and trying to use it, and it could never find any time it was the best skill for any situation.
So I want to throw that out there. Previously everybody's like, oh, this skill stinks. Now everybody's complaining because of one rune effect on it. And honestly, I was reading on the forums, and somebody did a video on it. Somebody tested it. And it's really not going to be that bad because they think they tweaked the tick chance. So while they lowered the percentage of it by half, they think they messed around with the actual time it ticks off to check it.
So it ticks more often.
Right, it ticks more often.
Okay.
So it's not as bad. I forget it was one of the sticky threads on the official forums. And the guy had like pages and pages of video like on it. And so I think it comes out to it's a less chance, but you don't need to stack, the double the crit chance on your gear now to still have the same effects. You're probably not going to be able to get it down to 0 constantly, but you're going to get them down to 0 pretty regularly. And honestly, it takes you that long to run to at least, a couple of seconds to run to the next mob anyway to kill them. So there, you have it up for every fight.
Hey, Flux, you ready for a segue? Because I'm really surprised with this change to Energy Twister that the Barbarian's sprint run like the wind didn't get the same kind of a nerf.
Well, as people often point out, the Barbarian is Jay Wilson's favorite class, so he gets all the preferential treatment and all the cool explosions.
He just wants it to be perfect.
Although, again,
I hate them.
The Barbarian, just a bunch of flat increases. Bash gets more fury increase. Cleave gets a better proc rate, but more just flat damage increases.
Yeah, so the Barb reminded me of the Demon Hunter, even though it was I think the second most favorite patch changes for the Barb. Maybe just because he's the most popular character, they didn't nerf anything. So
I hope they
did.
But
they're big buffs to Cleave and Bash, not so because everybody uses Frenzy apparently.
They really
I like
do,
Frenzy.
And I really don't like Frenzy, so I like these changes.
And they're also boosting some of the other spenders. Hammer of the Ancient, Seismic Slam.
Oh my god, the damage on Rend. Holy cow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's going to be so awesome.
My big problem with the Barb was, now they gave us for like the throwing, they gave us the legendaries, right? They gave us those legendaries to work with like a throw weapon, Barb, whatever. Yet the Fury spenders they talk about aren't the ones that nobody's using.
Yeah, they didn't talk about the throwing ones at all.
Right. They didn't talk about thrown weapon. They didn't talk about the Scorpion Spear. Where are they? Let's hear those. I would actually play a Barbarian if I didn't need that one legendary item to make a thrown weapon Barb useful.
Although, again, these probably aren't all of the changes that are going to happen. So maybe you'll get your cake and eat it too.
But you know what? The flip side of that is, wouldn't you think they would focus on those less used skills? Because I know people that still use Hammer of the Ancients. And I know everybody uses Whirlwind, that I play Barbarian with. And a lot of people like Seismic Slam or Earthquake, but they don't talk about the ones no one uses, which drives me nuts. Those would have been the ones I would like to have seen in this preview. even though we might get some changes on them in the patch notes, I would have liked to see them highlighted in the preview.
Agreed.
Well, they talked about cleave and bash, which nobody uses. So
yeah.
It seems like they went with the really basic sort of, it would have been fun if they talked about, like, here's how we're going to make Call of the Ancients awesome.
I want Call of the Ancients to be good. I do.
And we spent like 5 minutes on that in the last Barbarian podcast, trying to figure why is this so crappy? Why are there 3 different runes that add one little minor effect to one of the Ancients, which you might see twice in 30 seconds? I mean, there should be one rune that adds all 3 of those, and then you've got 2 other runes that could do something else cool.
You know what? I would love it if they made a rune for it that made them permanent, like no time till they disappeared, but gave them like not minuscule health.
Give them health based on the Barbarian, kind of like the Witch Doctor's pets.
Exactly. Give them like the pets are going to be. Give them 5 hits and then they disappear.
Pet Barb build. Copyright.
That would be awesome. Especially with like the spear, just pull them in and let them go. Let the Ancients go to town. That would be so much fun. I would play that for hours.
That would be pretty awesome.
Imagine if there were mods for Diablo 3 with how many skills and skill runes there are. How awesome there would be. Someone would have made that. A pet rune, a pet barb.
Better not let Jay Wilson hear you say that.
Yeah, well, there is no modding in Diablo.
There is no modding.
Just like there's no botting.
Oh,
and no dupes. Because, there's 7 different people with the exact same item down to the exact same stats. But they randomly
I love that article.
That. I read that article, I was like, oh, give me a break. Really already? 2, I can understand. 7, and you're not doing anything about it? Give me a break.
You can buy rares sometimes. When you get those wandering NPC merchants, they'll have a rare for sale. But I mean,
I thought those were randomly rolled as well.
Exactly.
I think you can buy a bunch of them though, can't you? Because you can buy 10 of the same blue.
But true, yeah.
So you could buy 10 of the same rare, but I've never seen one of those that was good enough to they're all like level 52
they're all
or something.
Lower level.
I mean, I got a level 54 one last night in one of those little in the Oasis in Act 2. Get those little rooms, and one of those guys had a 54, and it was actually a wizard orb. So I was thinking of that, that duped one we had all those pictures of. I'm like, if this was good, I could buy 10 of them, and then I could create duped rumors. But it was crappy. So
going back to the Barbarian, I'm really hoping that the buffs that they're doing to two-handers and the buffs that they're doing to these other Fury spenders will actually let me use a two-hander. Because I have a two-hander Barb, and she can farm Act 1 Inferno, no problem. I'm basically doing whirlwind healing and just plowing through stuff. But having the ability to use other things, like Seismic Slam is kind of good for two-handers right now. Well, I hope it gets really good for two-handers. Rend, that damage increase, I hope that becomes really useful with a two-hander, stuff like that.
It seems like the Barb, all the skills they listed, at least in the preview, as we've said 100 times, there may be others in the game, but none of them had any effect on the main Barb builds currently. The double whirlwind thing everyone talks about, where you're using whirlwind and sprint and getting all your props from the tornadoes. Did. I mean, maybe you might switch to cleave instead of frenzy or something, but not very likely.
Yeah.
But it seemed like they were mostly basing this on trying to make other builds viable. Maybe just the sword and board thing, as people say, with a sword and a shield. And then, okay, now Rend is awesome, now Cleave is awesome, now Hammer of the Ancients is awesome. So maybe that'll make those other builds more viable. Because I really can't, we talked about this on the Barb podcast, but I can't believe Blizzard designed the Barbarian thinking, okay, everyone's going to play a character that runs around in circles around monsters and sends out tornadoes to kill them. I mean, that's so not a Barbarian build. I have to think that Sprint was meant as a novelty escape kind of thing. And people just figure out a way to make this, make it with these critical hits and the procs to make it their main attack. They don't want to nerf that, but they want other builds to be more viable, so that's why other skills are getting buffed.
I think they originally designed Sprint similar to the Monk skill, just to get you to the next mob quicker. I don't think it was ever, to be used as anything more than like a lead-in.
And I think that the whirlwinds, the run like the wind, those whirlwinds were mainly for like when you have to get out of dodge, just to put a little bit of damage back on the mobs that are chasing you. That's the best thing that comes from games that have enough skill diversity that the community can make changes in ways that the developers didn't even see coming.
And kind of the same thing with the Wizard. You know, also the WW build, the Wicked Wind build. It seems like that was probably unintended. Now they're nerfing it to unintended more. But it's funny that the two most fun builds for two of the most popular characters appear to be complete accidents based on how the game was designed. Which makes it kind of ironic that they're always talking about how the characters, what they're supposed to do, and here's how the monk is supposed to be played, and here's how the demon hunter is supposed to be played. It's like, well, obviously you guys don't know, because the most popular builds are not what you designed in the first place.
Yeah, the most popular builds are things similar to the Hammer did.
Right.
When Blizzard released the Paladin, who the hell thought that would be the best build?
And it was horrible for many years, and they buffed it finally with patches.
But I see it as kind of the same thing. Hammerdins are kind of the same as the Run Like the Wind Barbs or the Wicked Wind Wizards. Totally unintended, but totally awesome, because the community found it, and it wasn't intended.
I like that. You know, I agree with, you know, the community coming up with the best way, you know, the best play, and using stuff the way the developers don't. I actually, you know, with the changes to the Fury generator, just to bring it back to the Barb a little bit, I might actually use Cleave instead of Frenzy if I was to roll.
I know.
If I was to roll a Barb now, because the way they're talking, it's not gonna be too much of a difference, you know. Plus, you're gonna get a nice proc chance on it.
I mean, Cleave Rupture is like the most fun skill in the beta. Making shit
as soon as you get Rupture,
awesome.
The beta's done.
That's like level 7. I mean, it's not exactly hard to get to.
Like, you can just stop playing the beta as soon as you get Rupture, because you could beat anything.
Okay, any last Barb thoughts, guys?
I like them.
I'm okay with them. Like I said, I would have much preferred if they focused on the what is termed the crappy Barbarian skills a little bit more, and kind of showed how they're going to try to make Call of the Ancients and Throw Weapon and the Scorpion Spear. I know that's not what it's called, but every time I watch it on the screen, I call it the Scorpion Spear.
Get over here.
Yeah, exactly. That's all I hear. I want them to add somebody to mod in that sound effect, just because it needs to be there.
Yeah, there are no modding. There would be if we had modding. Okay, last question. Why is there not a Diablo 3 patch test realm?
I don't know.
Because there really isn't a better reason than that, honestly.
I can't think about it. You know, when I saw the guys doing all these testings, you know, on the numbers with all the videos and whatever, and trying to like prove the math behind it, this would be so much better if we just had a test server to go in and do this. The only thing I can think of is Blizzard does not want us to data mine before we can actually get our hands on it. That's the only thing I can think of, because they...
Yeah, well, that's obviously killed the popularity of World of Warcraft. I mean, they've had patch test realms there for 8 years and no one plays the game at all.
Yeah.
No way.
Oh, funny story.
I didn't say
and
say
you can
it was
also
a good
mention
idea.
the fact
I'm
that
trying to maybe come up with a reason why Blizzard wouldn't do it.
Well, the main reason they're not doing it is because, as Diablo 3 demonstrated, they're able to perfectly test every skill and feature in the game internally, and they have no reason to need fan input on anything, because the game was perfect as it was
Maybe if we had a patch
released.
test, we could test the scaling of mobs. They're just giving them a flat 75% increase, no matter the party size.
Right.
So what about the people that just play co-op? What about the people that play in third-person parties? Why should they get punished?
So there's no patch test realm, and no one understands why. I mean, would you play on it? Would you, if you couldn't port your characters over? The problem is you really can't do anything testing until you have, you know, your big ass level.
I mean, if they had pre-built characters that you could go and try, that would work. But
or if you could export your characters from the US
I wouldn't want
server
to burn out too fast on it. I never played the patch test realm in WoW because I didn't want to burn out on stuff before it was actually released. But if it was in Diablo, I'd get on, play for a couple days, and then wait for the actual patch to come out.
That's probably what I do. I would definitely, you know, port my character over. I really like bug testing. I don't know. I've done it for a couple of games, and I really enjoy it. It's fun. I like breaking the game, so to speak. So I would definitely have a character on the test server, you know, to run around. Would I play it with the same frequency to test it out like I do my mains, you know, and the game itself? No, because I'd want to be surprised for a little bit of it, if I could.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't want to play the game to into the ground before you actually get to
play the game. But I would love to get on there and try out some strategies and and try to break it and see. I guarantee if they had a test realm, you wouldn't have had the invincible Archon form, and you wouldn't have had the Barbarian invincibility run that happened a couple of weeks ago, because somebody would have figured it out.
And millions of regular people playing are better than 100 QA testers.
Exactly.
Just because of sheer numbers. They're going to be better. They're going to find more bugs. They may not find the really hard-to-find bugs, but they're going to find bugs.
Okay, so everyone agrees there should be a patch test room, and we find it inexplicable we don't have one.
No reason why we don't.
I'm not torn up that there's not one, but I don't see why there isn't one.
Okay, any final thoughts, guys? Are you looking forward to the patch? What's your most anticipated patch thing? Philter?
I'm really liking the item changes. The flattening of item level 61 to 63 damage. The normal mobs are worth killing. The legendary changes. All of that stuff. It's all looking like the end game is going to be fun.
I gotta say, I like that my witch doctor's getting some love for once, and that I'm going to be able to keep my wacky build and maybe actually get to post it and get some support on it, because now it'll be a little bit more viable. I'll get to play around with some new options. That's probably my favorite, was the changes straight to the witch doctor, because I was tired of being the crappy one in the group.
Yeah, tired of everyone laughing at us.
Yep.
Okay, you've been listening to the Diablo podcast. We are online at diablopodcast.com.